I don't know how much longer I can do this. Hi all. I made this account just for this extremely long and rambling rant. I'm hoping that by screaming this all into the void, I'll somehow exorcise all of these negative feelings and be able to go on with life. If you decide to read on, brace yourself for several paragraphs of the typical "my husband is basically a child" post, with a twist of "the wife is a heartless bitch" to this sensitive, emotionally in tune feminist man who any other progressive/lefty woman would be happy to have. Advice and reactions are welcome. Screeds against my moral character will be considered. Apologies in advance for any formatting weirdness, as this is a copy/paste from my notes. I, 30F, can't stand my husband, 33M. I do literally everything in this relationship. If it's an adult responsibility, it's up to me to handle. Groceries, cooking, cleaning, pet care, taxes, paying bills, yard work, house maintenance, everything. Even just recognizing that something is wrong with the house/pets/cars/money is on me because his method for solving a problem is to pretend it doesn't exist. We're 50-50 financially, at least on paper. I suck it up and pay more for household items and pet supplies because he makes less money than I do, and it's more of a hassle to add to his monthly payments than it's worth, and I handle all of it. He is terrible with money and refuses to save because he's just never been good at saving. I request a lump sum from him every payday to allocate to our bills, loans, and his collections payments, which I've set up because he refuses to even look at his bills because of his anxiety. As if I don't also experience heart palpitations and sleepless nights at the thought of his hundreds to thousands of dollars in debt that won't disappear just because he doesn't want to think about it, and because his credit score is still so bad that putting everything under my name is the only way we get decent interest rates and lower monthly payments. On top of that, I am also his emotional regulator. He demands so much reassurance and validation for the simplest acts, like working a full 40-hour week, not napping half the day away, doing something cool in one of the video games he's constantly playing when he isn't at work or sleeping. I have to sit in non-judgmental silence while he complains about feeling unwanted and unlikable when a friend or hookup cancels on him. We're in an open relationship, which has never been an issue and plays no part in my feelings of resentment and frustration. I have to clamp my mouth shut when he complains about not being able to make himself do his laundry or clean up after himself, while I'm trying not to explode in rage from the overstimulation of his clutter and garbage littering every space he inhabits in this house. This guy has more hookups and goes to more sex parties per month than he does loads of his own laundry. His enjoyment of life always takes precedence over basic responsibilities, which are all on me, lest we lose our house, end up with neglected or dead pets, etc. All of my attempts at trying to explain how I feel about being the adult in this relationship ends with him shutting down in a sullen. Even my own wife hates me. I'm such a burden. I can't believe she would be so cruel to me. Silence, or a bout of explosive sobbing. This ends with me reassuring him for the rest of the day/several days, further draining me and defeating the purpose of trying to communicate anything at all. I've stopped trying to say anything anymore because it just isn't worth the additional effort of coddling him afterward. I hate how angry and miserable I am every day, especially when he's home. No one would ever accuse me of being a ray of sunshine, but the level of misery I've been marinating in, especially in the past year, is killing me and my ability to have any quality of life. I don't know how much longer I can tolerate being this grown man's mommy. I never wanted children and I feel like I'm raising one anyway, because I'm not fully oblivious to my own flaws and my own contributions to a miserable marriage. Allow me to list some of them out. I'm also anxious, and that nervous/stressed out energy is exhausting to be around every day. I am not attractive, and in this world that means that I should not/am not allowed to be picky about anyone who would deign to be my romantic partner. I am asexual with an extremely low tolerance for physical touch, i.e., I am reluctant to kiss/cuddle/hug him and want nothing to do with sexual contact. He's known this about me since day one and has never had a problem with it and does not harass me for it even with his extremely high libido. I'm sure that would be different if we were in a closed relationship and he had no other outlets, but again, that's never been an issue for either of us, as that has also been established since day one. I am not currently in therapy or working on myself, while he is. I would like to be in therapy and have been in therapy in the past, But I also just had to set up a year-long payment plan for his giant unpaid therapy balance, so that isn't happening anytime soon. I show affection by trying to make his life easier and more comfortable, not through grand gestures or expressions of undying, unconditional love, which he has expressed is what he needs in order to feel wanted and loved. I can't bring myself to perform these things out of obligation. It feels gross and disingenuous, and honestly makes me resent him even more because I'm being asked to do uncomfortable amounts of emotional labor on top of all the actual labor I do for him/our lives. About once or twice a month, I nag him to do tasks he does not want to do, usually the mountain of dirty laundry he has piled high on his side of the bedroom, which he has expressed that he needs to hear in order to force himself to do them, and also that it makes him feel like a burden when I remind him that he hasn't done the one task I've asked of him. I often feel contempt, resentment, and rage, and while I do not say these things out loud, refer to paragraph 3 for why, there is no way he doesn't pick up on that energy at least some of the time. I do not try to feign interest in his hobbies or interests that we do not have in common, which is another way I come across as cold and unloving. I raise my voice when frustrated or angry. Though this is not and has never been directed at him, I know from my own experiences that it is stressful and frightening to share space with someone who expresses their anger like this. Probably a dozen or so other things that I'm not even aware of yet. And because he isn't here to defend himself, here are some of his good qualities/reasons for behaving the way he does. He isn't one of those guys who bottles up his emotions and unleashes them in a wall-punching rage. He is politically aware and supports women's and minorities' rights. It helps that he is, in fact, part of a minority group. He has ADHD and other diagnoses that make those aforementioned adult responsibilities difficult to perform. We share similar outlooks on marriage, monogamy, and having children. Although he finds working difficult, he at least insists on doing his part when it comes to making enough money for us to get by. He has never expressed reluctance to be employed and has never suggested that I be the sole earner. I mention this because I've seen so many posts about men who just refuse to/can't work for any number of reasons, which is probably the one massive deal breaker I have. I have a lot of anxiety about money. We were and are friends. We share a lot of interests and our senses of humor work well together. We're able to have thoughtful discussions together and can genuinely enjoy each other's company when other life issues aren't getting in the way. This sounds exhausting/why did you even get married/please just divorce the poor guy. He deserves better. Yes, it is. He needed health insurance, which I had through my job, and he couldn't get through his. At one point I was enamored by the idea that anyone could love me, and I didn't feel like I could say no. I also knew I would never do better than this useless, but politically and socially aligned guy. I thought I could handle being and doing everything in exchange for splitting the costs of living and having the social validation of a spouse. I was wrong. You're not wrong. But, like most people these days, neither of us makes enough money to live on our own. He has also expressed extreme suicidal ideation at the thought of me leaving him, and has on more than one occasion required additional reassurance that I won't leave him after he's had a dream in which I did. I put on a decent enough performance to make him happy most days, so at least one of us isn't miserable. So that's it, I guess. It feels like I could go on about specifics until my thumbs fall off, but I'll leave it here. Thanks for sticking around. The effort is appreciated.